Creme caramel is a classic French custard that is a lot of fun to make. Essentially, a creme caramel is a custard baked on top of a caramel to create a self-saucing custard. When the custard is cooked, cooled, and inverted onto a plate, the bottom caramel, which turns into a liquid sauce, flows onto the plate. To make maple creme caramel, I made the custard base first by scalding 150 grams of high-fat cream with 50 grams of whole milk together in a small saucepan. In a small mixing bowl, I mixed 1 whole egg, 1 egg yolk, and 50 grams of maple syrup together with a small whisk, and placed the bowl on top of a folded kitchen towel to help hold the bowl steady as I temper the hot milk and cream mixture with the eggs. If I pour the hot cream into the eggs too quickly, I would risk scrambling them. I strained the mixture through a fine mesh sieve and into a mason jar to cool to room temperature as I made the caramel sauce for the bottom of the glass. I scaled 50 grams of organic cane sugar and 25 grams of distilled water into a small saucepan and gently cooked the sugar into a caramel. I never stir the sugar with a spoon because that will cause sugar crystals to form, causing uneven cooking, but as the sugar started to turn color, I swirled the pan gently to disperse the heat until I uniformly reached a dark amber color. Caramelized sugar can cause serious burns, so I have a bowl of ice water handy in case the hot sugar gets on my hand. I can dip into the ice bath to limit the damage. I divided the caramel equally between 3 125 milliliter mason jars and let the caramel cool to room temperature. I carefully spooned the custard over the caramel bottom jars and fastened the lids on airtight. I added the jars to a water bath with an immersion circulator set at 85 degrees Celsius and set a timer for 1 hour. I like to use specially designed canning jar tongs to remove the hot jars from the water bath because that is what they're designed to do. They allow me to move hot mason jars around with a really good strong grip, with less chance of the jars falling back into the water and splashing boiling water on my hand or forearm. The jars of custard were literally canned in sanitary conditions, so if the cooked custards are left sealed and stored in the refrigerator, the self-saucing custards will have a very long shelf life. Sous vide works perfectly for custards because it cooks the entire custard to the same consistency. Stove water bath methods can be undercooked or overcooked, so more skill is required to achieve the same result. I placed the jar into a frying pan with enough water to cover the caramel layer in the jar, about 6 millimeters or 1/4 of an inch, and heated the caramel until it melted into a liquefied state. If I do not heat the caramel slightly, it might stick to the inside of the jar and not flow out over the custard like it should. I need to detach the custard from the sides of the jar, so I run a small knife along the edge and gently press down on the edges until the caramel sauce starts to climb the sides of the glass. The custard was cooked under pressure, so unless air gets to the bottom of the jar, the custard will have difficulty releasing itself. To release the custard, I held a small plate over top of the jar and inverted the plate to allow the custard to drop onto the plate. I removed the jar and rotated the plate to evenly spread the caramel. I added a scoop of whipped cream and placed a segmented orange around the custard in a uniform pattern. I garnished the dessert with a sprig of fresh mint and served the maple creme caramel at room temperature with a demi-tablespoon. The egg whites create a firmer texture than just the yolks and make the custard a little lighter or less rich. The maple and caramel orange flavors are intense and very satisfying.